Welcome, Boundless Beauties. Today is number 7 on my perseverance journey. Day, actual day number, whatever. um, but I will say that today's mirrored wisdom from Nelson Mandela is really hitting. It always seems impossible until it's done. Let's get right into it. So, I guess I want to preface this by saying that the topic for today, and then there is hope, is what I'll be going forward with because when it comes to my creator's note today, it was really hitting. Momentum of the craft is born here, and I really needed to hear those words that everything that I'm doing or trying to do, although it feels like I'm lost and I don't have any direction, it is just the momentum and it's pushing me forward to where I need to be um, eventually. And I'm going to get there if I keep doing what I'm doing. So, day 7 wasn't a bad day for me at all. I was very hopeful. I was looking into being uncomfortable, pushing myself out of my comfort zone, looking at going to some bookstores and seeing what I can do as far as that was concerned and how they handled things. And I found some bookstores in the area that I could potentially do an author signing or something like that. But for some reason, it felt like a disingenuous activity. I went to a couple bookstores, I met some lovely people, and that was all good and dandy. But in all honesty and actuality, I found that something was missing and something wasn't quite aligned. I was getting some answers back. People replied quickly, after I left their shop and the business owner wasn't there. They gave me a call. So it wasn't like there was like a huge gap of time where I wasn't hearing anything. But, something still wasn't all the way sitting right. And, you know, I started thinking about, okay, what else can I do? Because in this moment, there is a need and I'm not meeting it. So I was doing some stuff that's outside of my comfort zone. I was getting out of the house and I was trying not to go too far from home. Of course, I have to be cognizant of gas money and things like that. And I felt pretty successful with my day. I did what I needed to do. I accomplished what I said I needed to accomplish. And when my daughter got home, I decided, you know what? I'm not going to sit and wallow. It's a very beautiful day outside. We'll get out. I'll let her get her wiggles out. She can go play with some friends. And I know of a park where there's always kids. So we got in the car and we went to enjoy the weather. And I ran into an old acquaintance at the park. Me and her met, I think, at another park, and our daughters kind of clicked and they played with each other and had a good time. And we got to talking. And she was a writer, but she was a grant writer working for a company at the time. And I had just really started freelancing, and I was in a transition state from just freelancing to actually figuring out what I really wanted to do as a freelancer. So, of course, we got to talking, and I'm very candid about whatever's going on in my life because I realize that what I'm going through is not a singular thing. You know, everybody's story is relatable in some way or another. So I share, and sometimes I might overshare, but that's just who I am. And so we ran into each other and we started catching up. And she was telling me where she was in her career and that she was no longer in corporate, that she was now doing ghostwriting and she was freelancing. And I was telling her that I'm transitioning out of freelancing and more into authorship. So, we started bonding and talking about our projects, and we decided that we were going to get up at a later date so we can get into more of the gist of things because I was leaving the park, she was just coming to the park, and so that's what we did. We decided that we were going to keep in touch. And I will say that I have been talking a lot about building my network of people that I contact that are of support. And she's one of those people that, we're kind of in the same circumstance. We're both single mothers raising our children, sole providers. And so she was saying, "Oh, hey, your content sounds like, something that other mothers can relate to, other sole providers can relate to, caregivers can relate to." And I think so too. But it just took hearing it from someone else to know that I do have a purpose in what I'm doing. It's just about reaching my audience. And so that I can't just give up because I'm not getting the answers or the replies that I want right away. I have to keep trying and going at it, and then connecting this back to my perseverance, because yes, I do want my mindset to stay in the present. I don't want to look at yesterday and say, okay, that was okay, but it wasn't good enough. I want to look at it and say I did the best I could with that day, and keep pushing forward, knowing that if I'm really planting these seeds, I will be able to reap what I sow. And so that's really what I thought about. What do I actually want to plant? Because I've been scattering, and I think most of my life, I've been scattering seeds everywhere, like all the seeds. I just want something to grow, and then once I see something growing, I'll go over there and tend to it. And I don't think that's how it works. Well, it hasn't been working. I mean, even when I was choosing something I really didn't want to do, I had to choose it. When I went into college and I found that they didn't have my actual major, I had to choose something else and stick with it. And once I, got a career and I didn't like it, I had to choose something else, but then I had to stick with it. And I went back to school and became a teacher. So I have to figure out what type of seed I want to sow and go from there. And so I can't just scatter all kinds of seeds and hope that they're like wildflowers, because my life and my purpose is not like a wildflower. I have to be intentional. I have to be very purposeful about what I'm doing. And so I had to really stop and kind of reflect and kind of regroup myself, what I want from life, and start there. What's something that you're working on right now that requires you to trust your own pace? I'm very curious to know what you have to say about that question. If you are vulnerable enough to share, I will be appreciative enough to reply. If this message or its content added something to your life, please like, subscribe, and definitely share with someone who needs to hear it. If you're also interested, you can join the journey of Boundless Perseverance by getting your guide. You can find it on boundlesshim.com or Amazon. Thank you for joining me for part 6 of my journey. If you missed any of the clips, please subscribe. Till next time.